Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming at you live from episode 52 of Life on the Rocks with your host, Connor Rocques. Today's featured guest in the hot seat is my friend, Dr. David Robinson. How are you today?
Hello, Connor. Good to see you.
Thank you. It's an absolute pleasure to have David on the show. For anybody in the city of Sudbury who doesn't know David, he's an economics professor at the University of Laurentian University. He's a Green Party candidate in the city of Sudbury. He actually came up with the idea for the MacEwan School of Architecture, which is huge in itself. He is also the first one to promote the role of the mining supply and services sector in Sudbury. So the first question I want to ask you, I think always to start the conversation, what got you started as an economics professor?
As a professor, I actually went back to university when I was working in a cabinet shop because I needed a job that was better income because I had a kid at that point.
Oh, wow.
And I decided I'd take economics and get a job in a bank.
There we go.
Believe it or not. And this was at UBC, which is a very good school. And before I had even an MA, they had me teaching a couple classes there.
Wow.
I didn't know that that was a bit unusual.
No, definitely.
It's a bit, I didn't know
a little bit at the
I
time.
didn't know anything about graduate school. So while I'm teaching, one of the profs says, go down and talk to this guy in this office. Now I've got an office up on the 10th floor of this tower at UBC, which seems really kind of wonderful for somebody who has no degree. I have an English literature degree.
Wow. Of all things. Yeah.
And it turns out this is the head of the economics department at Queen's University. And he says, I'll give you $9,000 to come and study for a PhD at Queen. It was after all the deadlines were closed.
Oh, wow.
Well, eventually he raised it to $14,000.
No kidding.
I kept getting these phone calls.
Yeah. He really wanted you.
So I went to Queen's and I got a PhD, and in the process I had a couple more kids and got an offer which was tenure track here. I also had an offer for 2 years at Western, but when you have 3 kids, you're sort of a little more conservative than I was 5 years earlier.
I can imagine, yeah. No.
And so I thought, I'll be here 2 years, 3 years, and I'm going to leave. But we raised our kids here.
Wow, yeah.
I actually got very, very deeply involved in the community over time. And now I'm getting close to retiring. I'm still here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you've been a big advocate in the city of Sudbury. I mean, I hear your name constantly, and that's why I wanted to bring you on the show. And so how many exact years have you actually been teaching at Laurentian University?
30.
30 years, wow.
Yeah.
And then also, like, talk about the process with that. So, you know what I mean, becoming an economics teacher and then going all the way from that into building the School of Architecture. I mean, which is a huge accomplishment in itself.
Let me tell you something kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually a failed architect.
Okay.
I actually quit university several times.
No kidding.
Yeah, this should encourage some of your listeners.
Some of my audience. Yeah.
If you're young and mixed up and messing up your life, don't worry about it. It seems to work out eventually. Anyway, I had done an English literature degree on my way into architecture, and then I quit partly through the War Measures Act. You don't know about this. Back in 1970, was involved, and it seemed like the whole world had come apart. And so I quit university and went and did some community organizing. And then I ended up working in cabinet shops and doing photography and just,
a bunch of different things.
This sort of lost kid, but I had dropped out of architecture, so I'm a failed architect.
Oh, wow.
I got here and realized that one of the things we need is we need design capacity in the North. We need people who can design new products with wood and what we have here. And that was where the idea for the architecture school came from.
Oh, wow.
It's building a foundation for a much richer, stronger local economy.
Oh, absolutely.
So the fact that I'm a failed architect helped.
It worked out, so a lot of time you wouldn't think
Yeah,
that you'd fail something.
so tell your audience, the more you fail, the more you got to work with.
It's true. Yeah, the more you get to learn, and then you
At least for me.
Yeah, the more you build, quote unquote, from there.
Yeah.
What made you transition though from going, from architecture then into economics? I mean, completely two opposite realms in a sense.
Well, I was always interested in politics, and so I read Marx and I read Keynes and so on, and I thought, honestly, I was feeling like I wanted a nice, conservative, easy job to support my kid. That's all it was.
Absolutely.
And I ended up in something that's not so conservative and not so easy, but it has supported my kids.
So, just in the general term, like someone thinks like
Of sociology, and that makes the sociologist really unhappy. Now I have to say some of my best friends are sociologists, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
But economics is about how society works.
Okay.
And the special feature that makes it possible for the field to succeed is we have these measures of value. Where sociologists have to say, somebody values something? What does that mean? For an economist, you can say somebody values something because they'll pay this much money for it.
Absolutely.
So you've got a built-in measure, and that's connected to jobs and the success of the economy and the tax revenue. So that particular focus gives you insight into a whole bunch of really important things.
Absolutely.
You know, they still say money can't buy you love, and that's probably true.
To some degree, yeah.
Yeah. So, go on.
And that was the one thing, so I was wondering, you know, for the general audience, obviously, becoming an economist, I see so many times, so being like this, obviously, in any type of teaching or anything you're involved in, there could be, you know, controversies and things associated. Part of your job as an economist, like, as you're trying to, you know, do different values and things, how do you deal with the criticism you face? Like, let's say, for instance, you say, okay, you make a projection on something. You're saying, you know, in the economy, this is going to change, but then you have a lot of opposing opinions to it. Like, how do you deal with that to build certainty for the people you're coming out with different observations and things for?
You really want to talk about specific areas. Like, if you're talking about the macroeconomy, what the government does with its spending and taxes and so on, lots of argument there. And it's largely about the kind of society, the politics. Do you want one with a bigger government that buys more health care for people? Or do you not want to buy health care for people and let them do it themselves?
True.
Yeah, that's the big debate at the macro level. The macroeconomy depends on so many things. It depends on what the Chinese do, and it depends on our friend Trump, right? And it depends on the weather in the prairies. It depends on the price of oil.
Absolutely.
So you can make guesses. I might make better guesses.
Exactly, yeah.
But I'm never going to be sure of being right.
No, for sure.
And sometimes even you're going to beat me on these estimates.
Yeah.
We try really hard. We have good data. Data's getting better all the time. The world economy is just hugely complicated and difficult. So maybe economists are helpful on a lot of these issues. Maybe they're not. But let me give you another issue. Say you talk about stopping climate change. Well, economists know that people respond to prices. So economists know you have to raise the price of carbon. Carbon price or you fail. Carbon price, put it in place, or the world cooks. It's really simple. Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Now that's not up for debate, and very few economists disagree.
So, yeah.
Right? Okay, how high should it be?
Well, there you go. I guess that's there we go. That's the
now
question.
we start to argue.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that the majority of economists looking at it now say about $150 is the minimum. Ontario's at 18.
Oh, wow.
So we're not doing anything yet.
No kidding, yeah.
I mean,
Out there.
the 5 cents difference in price of gasoline is the difference between Tuesday and Thursday in Sudbury, isn't it?
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay, so we don't have any policy. It's going to kick in 2023. That's not good enough.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I can tell you how to do that right based on years of studying economics.
That makes sense, absolutely.
No, I'll give you that lecture someday if you want.
That'll be that. Yeah, we'll save that for off camera.
Okay.
I want to ask you then, this is a super important question. How do you create that change to kind of get the momentum moving forward? I mean, that's one of the biggest things as a leader.
Okay. Public pays me to teach kids economic theory.
Yeah.
Get them ready for business, make them a little bit smarter, right?
Absolutely. Give them some skills.
And, and it's an absolutely wonderful job. I love it. I love teaching. But if you get to a point like this one, where you've got a world crisis happening, and we have, and you've got governments that are not doing anything, and you've got people like Doug Ford saying, let's do less.
Yeah.
At that point, you start saying, well, I've got kids. I've got grandkids. It's time to sort of step out of my safe little office and try to talk to people directly. So That's why I'm here, isn't
Absolutely, that's exactly why you're here, because I've been interviewing different political parties to see the angle. So if I were you, like this is just being a a general someone in my general audience, you would ask, like, it makes sense now why you're part of the Green Party. Why would I vote for the Green Party? That's one of the questions I think people would be asking, right? Because you see all these different angles. So that's just a general question. If I were, if I was someone just didn't have any information, why would I vote for the Green Party?
Okay, it's a party for grown-ups.
I like that. There we go.
It's a party for grown-ups because grown-ups are not hiding their heads in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
I went to see the Avengers Infinity War the other day. Okay, now you know what the story is there?
What is it?
This guy has seen his world destroyed by too much population growth, so he sets out to destroy half the people in the universe in order to save civilization. That's what Thanos is doing. Did you see the movie?
I actually didn't see the movie.
Oh, you gotta see it.
I gotta see it, yeah.
Okay, so there's a population crisis that destroys the world. And then in the Avengers War, guess what happens? They lose.
Oh.
He wins. Half the population of the universe is wiped out with his magic stones.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what does that tell you? It tells you that somewhere in people's head already is this fear that we're headed towards disaster. It's got to do with population and the environment, right?
So true.
And it says, this movie says, we're going to lose. That's what the movie says.
Yeah.
Okay, now I think that's what people feel.
It's true.
So they don't want to face this. They don't want to talk about it. But it's boiling up in movies like this, which everybody gets to, every second person is wiped out.
So true.
So for those of you who've seen the Infinity War,
mm-hmm.
one of us is turning into those little fuzzy brown things and floating away because we can't deal with the political problem of climate change. That's what that movie said.
Well, I find it wild too when we look at that in another sense too, is that so many people, we have all this evidence backing climate change, all the problems, and then people are like, well, they just turn a blind eye to it. And I know several people like that. So how do we convince them, those people that they're trying to think out of quote unquote logic, to convince them to say, here, like, this is the evidence, you see, the ice caps melting, all these different things in the environment. How do we convince them to go in? It is my question to you. I know you're a passionate gentleman too.
I wish I knew.
I wish I knew, and that's what I try to think.
I have a Facebook page.
Yeah.
So I'm really important. You know how I know I'm important?
People comment?
I've got six trolls.
Oh, they're
6 trolls.
I call
of
them
my own.
marketers. I call them. Yeah.
Marketers.
Yeah.
These people who come on and tell me things that are not polite enough to say on a children's show like this.
No, absolutely.
But everything I put up, somebody has a comment
man.
saying, you're an idiot. Are you a scientist? What about the sun getting warm? I mean, all of these things that we knew were wrong by 1995, they're still saying. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, how do you deal with that backlash? And that's so important as you kind of go out there and you're expressing your ideas and opinions to people and back with facts. And people, it doesn't matter, they won't take the time to look into your resume and the things you've done. Like, even, let's just put it out there just for you guys. He won multiple awards for his contribution to economic development in the city of Sudbury. So I think obviously you have some background, and understanding things.
But our counselor, Robert Kerwan,
I actually
called me a dinosaur.
Oh, yeah. Never nice, not nice, yeah.
Dinosaur of a university professor. No, I'm sorry. A washed up dinosaur of a university professor because I disagreed with him about moving the arena out to the garbage dump.
Oh, wow.
Right? So not everybody takes my peculiar credentials very seriously.
You know what's interesting about that, David, though, is he calls you a dinosaur, yet at the same point in
washed
time.
Up.
Washed up.
Got us a washed up
dinosaur.
Washed up. Isn't that a great image?
No, not at all. But then you're in one of the most kind of revolutionary parties, right? You're in the Green Party, which is trying to create massive change, in a sense. So I kind of find that interesting, in a sense, to make a comment like that and then come back. Because I've seen a lot of the posts online where you guys are kind of engaging back and forth, and I stay out of it, right? I nonpartisan in that way, and I just kind of watch. What was, in that sense, like, again, going back to this backlash you're facing, when you have a number of people saying we should move the casino out down the Kingsway, like, how do you face with some of those arguments and things?
I was asked by quite a few people to say what the economic effect was.
Mm-hmm.
And I said it wasn't going to be good, and I gave a dozen reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, there was a recent report done by opponents where they paid somebody to do this. All the same points were made. All the professional economists would agree with me.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so in some sense, that's the end of the story. Council chose not to listen. Council chose to go. Well, I like to say this was a political issue determined by social media. The first issue in Sudbury ever determined by social media.
Wow, yeah, that's actually an interesting point. And then you see it kind of how it turned out, right? With the end in the vote, now they're trying to, revoke it and switch it, or whatever you want to say. Yeah.
Yes. You got to give Dario credit, though.
Definitely.
And he played a brilliant game.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that if he goes out there, he makes money. So there's good reason for him playing that game. But he did play a brilliant game.
Oh, definitely.
He's a good guy. I like Dario.
No, absolutely.
Just,
yeah.
I think that is bad for this economy.
No, absolutely, and that's your point. You come through for that, and there's no argument against that, right? In that sense, like only on social media and other people that might argue differently. For me, you know what I mean? I have an open opinion to it, so I like hearing both angles of the story. I've interviewed people on the other side of the spectrum, and then I interview you as well on this side of the spectrum. So I kind of want to transition here from that. Going forward, so you're meeting opposition, right, with telling people we should have the casino downtown, but now as a Green Party advocate, how are you facing some of this opposition here and dealing with it? So when you have, political parties like the NDP as well as the Liberals and stuff, they're saying, hey, we should make change in this area, opposed to the Green Party that kind of wants a little bit of a radical change in a sense.
If you look at the programs of the various parties, the three major parties, what you'll discover is they all want to spend more money on mental health. That's the flavor of the day, and it's a good issue. They're all committed, some more or less committed, but to more equality among the sexes. They're all committed to keeping the minimum wage up. Ford doesn't want it to go from 14 to 15. He'd rather give the money to the rich people. But, there's not a huge amount of difference there, right? They're talking about, the NDP is talking, and the Greens are talking about adding 1% to the corporate tax, right? The Liberals are talking about leaving it, and Ford is talking about reducing it by about 1%. The differences between these parties on a lot of social issues are really small, right? They're just different gangs that want to run the province.
Different angles, yeah.
And it's not that these are unimportant differences, but they're not huge differences by any means.
Yeah.
Ford is going to cut hospital budgets more, and Andrea Horvath is going to raise them a bit more, and if the Liberals get in, they're going to try to hold them steady in the middle. Okay, well, this is the biggest chunk of our provincial budget, so it's an important fight.
Absolutely.
But those are not huge differences. Mm-hmm. If you talk about $100 million in the healthcare system, you know how big that is?
Very small.
If you've got a nickel in your pocket.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah,
wow.
It's small at the level of the provincial budget. All three of them are telling lies about reducing hydro rates. Not because they have any principles about this, just because hydro prices are unpopular.
Okay, yeah. No,
so they're all clustered around here arguing about little differences and completely ignoring the fact that we're on the Titanic, and the people down in the radio room, the scientists have said, hey, there's an iceberg straight ahead, and a few of us are running up and down to the captains saying, he says there's an iceberg ahead, and they're saying, okay, well, I'll slow down, maybe I'll slow down, maybe I won't slow down. Well, that's not good enough. The Titanic went down.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's where we are right now.
No, exactly.
Three parties up there, they're arguing about who's captain. Nobody's listening to the warnings coming up from the radio room, and it could kill us.
I think that's a very interesting point. Honestly, it's just so all the same issues, and then on the one, it's like the real issue that we kind of got to solve, because then there's not going to be any of us fighting over mental health and all the other things.
Yeah, and that's why I say it's the party for the grown-ups.
The one. Yeah, for the grown. No, it makes perfect sense, and I find that an interesting point. Kind of getting some research from you. Someone that's head on, involved in trying to create the change. Do you find it's a benefit being a teacher, coming out and doing these things? Like that's an interesting point, I think. Because teachers obviously have their own interesting lens. Everyone has their perception. Like, do you find it's a more positive for you being a teacher, coming out and trying to attack these problems?
I'd say two things about that. One is, I spent almost 40 years studying economics, which isn't the easiest thing in the world to
No
understand.
kidding.
And it's hard work, and every day I pull down another research paper and skim it. Sometimes I'll pull down 4 or 5, and it'll be something about economic development or health or whatever. But all the time I'm still working. After 40 years, I'm still learning stuff.
Oh,
so I feel sorry for someone like Robert Kirwan who's trying to make up a whole field on his own. I mean, that's brave in some sense, or mad, but it's brave. So I've spent a huge amount of time compared to anybody you know studying policy issues.
For sure.
That's an advantage. So I do understand carbon taxes. I do understand the tax system. I've written a book about community forestry and forestry economics.
No, absolutely.
Right? Okay, so just that accumulated work counts for something, I hope.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, one of the treats of teaching is trying to explain this stuff to people.
It's so true.
Right?
Yeah.
And they get it. The students get it. But you have to get better and better and better at explaining.
So true.
So, what would I say about that? Students have taught me more about explaining difficult ideas than most people have a chance to learn. So if you get Glenn here or Troy, they cannot explain carbon pricing.
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand it. They can't explain what's happening in hydro prices.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that even about Glenn, who knew nothing about it when he became Minister of Energy, right? Knew nothing. He's got really good deputy ministers and so on giving him information and telling him what to say. But he's basically implementing a policy that was laid down before he got there. And you can't blame him for that. Did you ever see that show, British show, Yes Minister?
I've heard of it, never saw it.
Oh, you got to see it. But you get appointed to being the minister, and now you're in charge of energy, right? And you think you're going to run it. So your chief bureaucrat comes in. You say, do this, and he says, yes, minister. Then he goes and does what they were going to do anyway.
Absolutely, yeah. That was it, just need to get the approval, in a sense.
Yeah, that's right.
No, absolutely.
And then the minister asks, well, you didn't really do, oh, we did it. This is what you meant. This is what you really meant, minister.
Absolutely. I actually have an interesting question for you, Judge, or generating off of talking about students and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you find it, you must learn a lot too, like you must have those students that are kind of like bulldogs in there, they want to challenge some of your ideas, and how do you deal with those students, like in a logical sense? You put them out and say, well, no, here it is, but then, like, how do you deal with, like in general, the bulldog students that you get that like to argue and kind of...
I love
I can imagine, you seem like the guy that, I can imagine.
I don't get enough.
No, for sure.
I mean, I really would like more students to argue with me.
Yeah.
It gets harder for them, you know. I mean, the truth is, I've got 40 years now behind me. I can explain things much more easily. Would you want to take me on in the classroom?
I wouldn't want it, not atomic economics, that's for sure.
Well, see,
or development.
When you're young as a teacher, you don't know nearly as much. And so in some sense, you're better for the students because they feel it's easy to argue. When you're older, you know a lot more, and that's better for the students, but they don't feel they can engage so much. So there's a trade-off.
They get scared.
Maybe. They don't seem too scared of me, but they also don't argue with me all that much.
Yeah.
It takes half a course before I have them arguing.
Oh, wow. No, absolutely. You'll kind of open them up, and I think maybe that is maybe partial fear that, you know what I mean, they have, like, I mean, especially if you think about economics and how deep it gets or not deep, but like how complex it gets. Like, I wouldn't be able to argue with you on that stuff, even if I did, you know, years worth of research. I mean, you have 40 years back behind you. And I found a lot of students, like, so I studied law for 4 years, and with Dr. Braun, you probably know Dr. Braun.
I know Dale,
yeah. Dale was one of the best teachers I ever had, and
wow.
I remember a few times I tried to challenge him on a couple of points, and I wasn't versed well in law, and he just, as we like to say in my terms, he wiped the floor with me. It was too easy for him in that sense, and you want to try to challenge points, and I'm very interested in a lot of psychology, like the practical end of it, and I took it on a few of my teachers, but then, you know, you get into a nice stimulating conversation. But David, you're the type of guy I can already tell going into it. Just so the audience knows out there, we started talking about a number of things, and David was telling me how to do it. So I actually respect that a lot. That you're like, this is how you should do it better, and that actually makes me better. So that's a good thing with you know, kind of engaging in things. It grows my ideas and yours, hopefully.
Yeah, and if you feel that, that's wonderful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's what a teacher's job is, in my opinion, is to, stimulate or be thought-provoking to their students. It's like you're the master, you learn through teaching even more, right? That there all of a sudden there'll be a point that comes out. And I've seen you in several interviews as well, and I mean, you're ready to engage. And even, I know you did an interview one time and to bring up with Stephen Paikin one time, and that was a very engaging conversation. I watched this years ago. I forget, that's actually when I was first introduced to you. Stephen's coming on the show in the next few weeks.
Oh, you did?
I bring him in.
Good guy.
Bringing him in, yeah.
Good guy.
But I've seen you in lots of times. You get in. I like the way you break down arguments. It's very logical. You have your facts, so then someone comes in with their emotion, and you're able to just say, "Well, no, here you go. Here's your facts." And as a lawyer, you'd probably make a good lawyer because you'd have a good case to
That's
put.
it.
That's going to be the next.
I was a failed architect. I should have been.
I should have been a lawyer. Dale would tell you. But kind of moving forward. So I want to ask you. So because I have a millennial audience, millennials, Generation Z, there is lots of people in the city though that will see this interview. What's some advice for some of these students when they're entering into this time of mass disruption? I mean, we're on our phones. Like, what is some advice? So the job, or we're losing jobs. What are some of the things that you're encouraging and telling them as a piece of advice?
Well, one thing, I mean, you are trying to help start millennial businesses.
That's right.
Okay, people are going to have to do more of that.
Mm-hmm.
And we've known that for a number of years, and the truth is we're not very good at helping with that kind of thing at the university. It's a different kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's one. Another one is, and this is always important, you need to read. You need to keep
Absolutely.
thinking.
Keep learning.
I think everybody thinks the generation before them had it easy.
It seems like it. That's what everyone says, yeah.
Well, when I came out of university, there weren't any jobs. You know why?
How come?
Because we had a baby boom coming out of university, and all the jobs for university people, there weren't any.
There wasn't, yeah.
So the government made up a whole bunch of fake jobs for us.
That's funny.
So why is it I didn't ever have a real job until I was 40? A lot of millennials are going to be in the same situation.
boat, yeah.
But when they get there, they're going to have a set of skills. They're going to have a set of abilities. They're going to have contacts and ideas that they've built up. And maybe 15 years is a long time to be in the wilderness as a young person.
Yeah.
To be not able to buy a house, right? People worrying about that. To maybe have hangover of student loans.
Big one there.
These are serious. These are really serious
True.
issues. And like most people that are anywhere to the left of center, I really like to see us move in the direction of free university or cheaper university, paying off those fees for getting rid of those loans, taking on those loans. And you hear the NDP talking about it. You hear the Liberals doing a bit of it.
Absolutely.
Right? You don't hear Ford talking about it. But wait, when we get a little closer to the election, he's going to promise to cancel people's loans or something.
Yeah.
Because these parties are all really close together.
It's
right?
so true. Yeah, no, absolutely.
But it's going to be tough. I think it's important to know it was tough for people's parents. It was tough for the grandparents. Sudbury's a really interesting place, because people came from all over the world, speaking a whole bunch of different languages, and ended up doing slave labor for income, right?
Yeah.
And made a pretty terrific little community in lots of ways. Got their kids educated, built a university, put in a theater center, in the 50s, they built this wonderful arena downtown,
yeah.
which is still a pretty good little place. I like it. But those were tough times. There were strikes, and the pay was crummy, and it was dangerous work. And there wasn't a lot of excitement in this town except Sudbury Saturday night.
Oh, yeah,
right?
That was it, yeah.
Well, it wasn't.
No, it didn't. No,
I mean, you got to know that the union groups had reading groups, that the women had these organizations where they wrote books and read plays together and so on. I mean, there was a lot more culture here than people know about.
Mm-hmm.
But they made their way. Now, it's a little different.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important to understand that people in the past struggled through this, and millennials are going to get through it. And millennials are going to be in a really good position. You know why?
How come?
Because we old baby boomers are going to need to hire them.
That's it. No, 100%.
Right?
It's true.
See, when the baby boom hit, there were lots of kids, not very many old people. Interest rates went way up because you have to borrow to make jobs and so on, right? So interest rates reached 20% when I was in my 30s.
Wow.
20%.
20, yeah.
Okay, so that's because you have lots of kids needing to borrow and not many people lending. Well, it's turned around. There's not so many millennials compared to the number of older people.
It's true.
You're in good shape.
I think the good thing too, David, right off of that point too, with this generation, that it's like you look, like I think you said, every generation has a struggle, and then you look at our generation. I use the mentality that phone is a weapon. You know, back in the day, you know what I mean. You'd have to, not literally, no. But you know what I mean. You have access to some of the most advanced technology and innovation on the phone. Literally, I can be pulling up content from anywhere about history, going to economic theory. I can teach myself how to do that. And I think our generation maybe needs to be more encouraged to be self-starters. And that way. So this is my last question for you, and it's very important.
Great point. Yes.
Yeah, as a doctorate, do you encourage students to go to university? Do you encourage them to go out and risk it, you know, in the sense that they might not get a job, to then get the debt and then be in debt to not find, you know what I mean? Do you encourage people to go to university? Obviously, learning is a huge part of your life.
Okay, these are really hard questions.
It's a loaded one.
Yeah. And I've had people come to me and say, I'm thinking of doing a PhD or keeping this little business of mine going. And most of the time I say, keep the business going. 5 years out, you're going to be better off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there are 3 or 4 people here who have successful businesses, but they thought about going off and doing a PhD, and I said, don't, even though they could have done it.
So true.
Okay. I think before you get to that point, take a year off. Go find some crummy jobs.
No, absolutely.
I worked on a green chain, hauling lot. I worked on a fish boat. I worked throwing hay on a wagon and on a farm part of one summer. I've worked moving houses. It's harder to get those kinds of jobs now, actually.
So true.
It's harder to get those jobs. But here we are, 50 years later, and I still draw on those experiences. They help me understand the world. They help me think things through.
Absolutely.
And the luxury that millennials have,
it's incredible,
is, as you say, the phone, Wikipedia. Oh my God, Wikipedia.
It's literally everything right there.
Yeah. But also much better understanding of other people, much more information about how society works. You have a chance, millennials in general have a chance to make themselves in a way that previous generations, they fell into a niche and they had to keep going.
So
You're
true.
postponing having kids. Well, that means you have more time to develop.
Absolutely,
Don't spend too much time getting drunk.
Exactly, don't be wasting,
Okay, so if you want advice, it's that kind of stuff. And you know what? It's boring standard advice. And
no, it's great though. I think it's great insight. I think or go ahead.
I was just going to say. No, I wasn't going to say anything.
No. Well, I think it's one of those things, right, that, like I said, with these phones, like, people for once can actually have a chance at bat to go create what they want. And I'm a big advocate for education. So some people, a lot of time, like I got my degree, I got my BA, and a lot of people thought I was going against the grain, saying, you know, don't go to university. What I was saying is, don't go to university if you don't have a plan. If you don't have the strategy game to back that, what's going to happen is you're going to put yourself in debt. A lot of people, I think university is the solution to the job, and it's like, no, you got to be a little bit more clear than that. So for me, it kind of worked out in the sense that I went in a general sense. I thought I was going to be a lawyer. That was always the plan. I wanted to be a commercial lawyer. And then as I went in, I found out, I talked to Dr. Braun, and I had mentors, and I said, you know what, I'm going to try this angle. It makes more sense. I'm more interested in business. I went out, got in the field, tried door-to-door sales. I tried sales, marketing, all this stuff, and I found my niche. And I said, this is what I want to do. I want to encourage people. I built my brand and all my other stuff and my companies. And I said, I want to encourage people to do the same. Because if I can do it, the C student that didn't get into university, who can't, right? So that's why I appreciate a gentleman like you coming in with, you're the first doctorate to come on the show. The first doctor in general. And I'm not going to lie to you guys out there. He, right before the interview, you took me out a few times. I like that. You're helping me learn. You're questioning me. And these are things that, David, you've done an exceptional job in the community. And for anyone, where do we go if we want to give you donations to the Green Party? Do you have a website, like the Green Party donations?
There is Green Party of Ontario, and you can find candidates there, and there's a link to me on that.
Right on there. Do you have any upcoming events that you can talk and read into the camera?
Well,
if you have anything coming up that we can promote for you.
Well, if you're free tonight and want to work on the campaign, we're meeting over here at the, what do you call the center? Big center over here.
The big
Rainbow.
one.
Rainbow.
The Rainbow Center, okay.
Yeah, we're meeting at the sort of health center beside the World Gym.
Okay, right on
On
there,
the
yeah.
main floor?
For sure.
At 7 o'clock. So there's one thing.
So
You can give me a call. I'll give you a phone number. Can we write it on the wall in big letters?
we could, but then I'm going to have to get the paint done again.
You should have a whiteboard.
I can actually tag it in the video, so anyone that
Okay.
wants to, we can put it in the video.
Well, personal phone number or email. I'll give you both of them.
For sure.
The email's really easy for anyone who knows the university. drobinson@laurentian.ca.
That's it. I appreciate that, David, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen, and I hope more people become aware of what you stand for. And honestly, for anyone that likes to argue with you, at least you enjoy the argumentation piece of it, which is great. To kind of challenge your ideas and things. But I think you've done, honestly, like I said, an exceptional job in the community. I mean, I hear your name all over the place, and that in itself is something. And the thing that I like about you, and that I was going to be a lawyer, is that you back it up with facts. And that's one of the most important things. I see a lot of these people get into arguments, and they have a lot of emotion, and people backing them, they don't have facts and logic. And that's something I think you've done an exceptional job, like I said. So I appreciate you coming on the show. I seriously thank you very much, David.
Thank you. I've enjoyed this.
I will say I have one regret, ladies and gentlemen, that I never took a class with Dr. David Robinson. So if any students take a class with David,
Bye-bye, everyone.